Yeah. So you'll notice there's only the sound of one bottle opening, which is Ziegenbach. Sort of a one-hand clapping thing, and that's because I'm drinking alone today. Just this one beer anyway. I'm taking an opportunity today to catch up on a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, thanks to everyone who's subscribed and watching. This little project, this is an amateurish thing, much like we've talked about in amateur photography, amateur musicians, and amateur astronomy and things like that. We do things on a small scale level, and this podcast is just another one of those projects. I've never set out for it to be viral or anything crazy like that. It's too narrow a topic, geographically narrow and all like that. So it's doing what I hoped it would do. Friends, family, community members are really enjoying it. And we're recording a lot of memories, not just mine and things about me, but all the people around me. And that's been a blast. And we've taken a few turns and we're still kicking ideas around. But we are getting a lot of feedback. Most of this is, in open forums, places like Facebook and on the YouTube comments, which I don't really talk about it here because most of the time it's a low traffic thing and I can just respond right there. And a lot of it's phone calls, texts, just seeing people out on the street. And the questions and comments and suggestions and things started sort of grouping into, I started writing them down and they started grouping into a few points that I thought I'd go over and encourage anyone who likes to sound off. We are interested in topic ideas, guests, friends, anyone that wants to come in. If you just say, hey man, tell that story, about the time we both got our heads stuck in the banister together or whatever, send that to me and I'll work it in. That's happened more than once. Specifically, I want to get to the big question, and Tim and I talked about this early on, and that is, what is a podcast? What does that mean? How do I listen? How do I use it? So let's go back. We're all familiar with talk radio and local shows, national syndicated things, and there's a format to that. There's a rhythm and a cadence to what you do, and it's typically a live situation. So you book a guest and they come on, and a radio talk show host is a good one, is extremely skilled. And you listen to locally, like Craig Anderson, who's I think is the best one we have locally. He has done it for a long time and nails it. It's great. And then you go to the national people on politics and things like that are just fantastic. Podcast is different. First thing you need to understand about a podcast is that it's a conversation. And here in the Vann Cave, that's the game room at my house. It's originally kind of a formal dining room or sitting room or front room thing on our house that my wife designated as my space. So I've done with as I please, which is why it's decorated with musical instruments and weapons and memorabilia and dartboards and pub games and things of that nature. And my buddies and I come in here. The Vann Cave actually started because of Breaking Bad. Now, we already had the game room, and we're adding and playing with ideas and putting things in, playing games and such. But when Breaking Bad came out, I got hooked, and a couple of my buddies did, and we started meeting up every Sunday to watch the new Breaking Bad. And we would sit and watch and burn cigars. This room has a ventilation system that removes smoke. I can't remember the numbers. I think it flushes the air every 5, 6, 7 minutes, something like that. And then after that, it has a couple of different kinds of filters. It has an ozone generator. I forget the brand name of those. And a carbon filter type, typical air filter that takes air in, runs it through activated charcoal, and brings it back out. So the result is you can enjoy a cigar in here. It doesn't get super smoky and hazy, and the smell doesn't linger. Plus, you have to dust it, and there's not a lot of fabric in here, and what is well taken care of just to keep that. No matter how much you like a cigar, the stale stink of a room after you smoke it is not that. So anyway, we have some cigar aficionados everybody likes, good beer and such, and we'd sit and watch Breaking Bad, and then inevitably would break into conversation. And most of the people that you see come through the podcast have been here just socially and hanging out with me, and obviously some of my closest friends. And my wife was in the kitchen, which adjoins the room, and she could hear us one day, and she is an enormous podcast fan. She's been on here, and she listens, I forget the number, somewhere around 20 podcasts. And she said, you guys really should consider a podcast. And we also meet at Murray's every Wednesday night about 8 o'clock. Most of the time, I've had some other things going on here lately, but you can find most of us there. And we've had some conversations there that when we got done, we said, I wish I would record that. So that's how it got started. But podcast is a conversation, and they do run longer, and you'll see the lengths are random. Like this will be a short one because a few things to get to, and we're off. Sometimes they run long, and people see, and I'm the same way when I see a podcast, this hour-long thing, and I go, man, do I want to sit here? Because most of the time I find it's on YouTube. Do I want to sit and watch this thing for an hour? I got stuff to do. Well, the trick is to download it and just listen to it while you're doing something else. Driving, I listen to them while I'm mowing or working in the shop, or I put them on the TV and listen to it while I'm doing housework, things of that nature. So if you have a YouTube Red account, which I do, you can download things. Now, I don't know if you can download on the other apps or not, but that means you don't have to have an internet connection. You can save it when you do have a connection. And if you're out, camping or something like that, out in the sticks where you don't have coverage, you can listen to it. I believe that feature is also on our Buzzsprout link where you can download it. And if you're on an Apple product, we are on iTunes, which I believe you can also download there. If I'm wrong, let me know, and we'll work something out. But if you have an internet connection, you can hear us and check it out. And we're going to mention a lot of other podcasts. I do recommend that. I'm not speaking out in any way against talk radio or anything of that nature. It's just something that got into me. The flow of a conversation versus a radio interview or spot is just different. Also, this is recorded. It's recorded for a number of reasons. Not so much that we're afraid of somebody saying something wrong or something of that nature. That's extremely rare. But things do happen. People have to go to the bathroom. I spill something about every fifth episode because I'm just not good with not spilling things. So we can go back and clean that up. Also, it is to run live stream, especially with multiple cameras, is a nightmare. By the way, no, this is not. There's no video on this. You are gazing upon the handiwork of Tim Kreitz. It's an animated, really cool kind of hypnotoad, psychedelic, tacitly moving Vann Cave logo that Tim drew for me a long time ago, way before the podcast idea came around. So thank you, Tim, and everybody just stare mesmerized at the graphics. It also runs in the background during the podcast. But where was I? See, I don't remember. Anyway, the live, that's very expensive. Camera switchers and things of that nature are crazy, and then you have to have someone produce, and maybe sometime in the future. Also, it's not, nor do I expect it to be a huge podcast, and you kind of need a big audience to make that stuff happen. So that's why we're not live. That's why it's recorded. Audio video is on YouTube, and audio only is on Buzzsprout. If you would like to email us, the email is thevancave@gmail.com, and I'll put that in the footer, and you can just send us email from anywhere. Otherwise, Facebook, all that stuff works. I'm kind of sort of on Twitter, but I haven't figured that out. So that's the spiel on that, on the podcast and what it is. The reason it's called a podcast was this sort of thing got popular it was a term coined in relation to the Apple iPod, and it just stuck as a podcast as a takeoff on the word broadcast. But it is just a talk show in a long sort of flowing conversation format. Most of these we don't have notes unless there's technical things to talk about. Like when we get into plane crashes, every once in a while, like Tim did one on the new helmet law, and we'll drag a computer or a pile of paper in here and use it to get facts right, things like that. The rest of the time we're just wrong and don't care. So most of it is unscripted. We do briefly talk about how things go, but a lot of people and guests have said, I have no idea what a podcast is, but I'm in. Let's do it. So I appreciate the trust. Let's go through. All right. I've gotten a couple of things about politics and specifically interviewing local political candidates, things of that nature. All right. Here's the thing on politics. There's enough of that out there. Unfortunately, you just can't throw enough political topics at the listener population. People eat it up. You can't go wrong. I don't want to do it. We refer to this as a place for the politically homeless because I have views that will offend and horrify, and people love it, people hate it, and it's done to death. We do touch on it. The exception, we've gotten into some firearm stuff, but the reason is there is a lot of actual expertise on all areas of the firearm thing here. So, I'm law enforcement, retired. Tim has some law enforcement time and education, and Cliff is in law enforcement, as are Ronnie Aaron and some of the other guests we have, and some people that are coming in. So I'll get into some stuff like that. I don't want a cop channel, but there's going to be a lot of cop stuff on this. I don't want a musician channel, but a lot of musicians, so you get the drift. Political candidates, I kind of stay out of that. The toughest thing for me is that everybody that's running, sheriffs, commissioners, judges, constables, councilmen, all that kind of thing, the vast majority of these are people that I know, and whether I would vote for them or not, I still really like all of them. And I've worked at the sheriff's office and the district attorney's office, and I've worked with every branch of government you can imagine, from feds down to helping other small municipalities and things. And I know a lot of stuff about it, and I don't want to get in the middle of it. I'll let it work itself out. That said, these are interesting people that I would love to drag in here and talk to. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And I don't know. Appreciate your thoughts on it. If you're running or you're a public official, I have some people at levels I didn't expect call and ask to be on here or just offer, and we're going to take them up on it. All right. What about doing interesting local jobs and things like that? Yeah, I'll take it. Let's do it. I'm interested in things oil field nature because that's our bread and butter. Also, there are just things around here people don't know about. We've had a lot of people with weird eclectic hobbies and things. So I'm interested in local vocations, clubs, hobbies, things of that nature. Because, if it fits the mold of what we do around here, bring it on. Let's do it. Can you put out more episodes? All right, here's the thing. It's going to kind of segue into the last couple of things I want to talk about. Because I retired, because I am a cancer patient, I was diagnosed in 2013 with colon cancer and was treated, stayed, all the cancer was gone. It popped up again last early summer, maybe May, I think it was. And I have had a lot of surgery, a lot of treatment, and I'm stage 4, which means it's spread. It's in my lungs and hot lymph nodes and peritoneum. And the doctors are doing a good job of keeping up on that. But I'm in regular all-the-time treatment and probably will be for the rest of my life, which is fortunately at this point is still being measured in years, but it's taken a lot out of me, which is largely why I retired. And I've gone to do other things, and a little more attention to the podcast is one of them. So the schedule, I retired mainly to live on the treatment schedule rather than a work schedule. I have to give 100% to that. My treatment's weekly, and I only have, during an average week, a couple of really good days where my voice is good and my mind is sharp. Chemo makes you feel in your head like it's 4 a.m., you're in deep sleep, and the dog just started barking, and you wake up, and your brain is just, I call it in neutral, and it just happens. So it's hard to stay on topic and, sound good. It physically takes a toll on my voice. You can hear some where I was laughing with my wife. I sound like Jordan Peterson, some of them when my voice cracks up. Today was a treatment day. I haven't started feeling bad yet. It hasn't really started chewing my voice, but I'm a little spacey, but I still got stuff to do and I can do it. When I'm on breaks, they last about 2 weeks is when I feel the best. And honestly, I kind of want to get out and do things. So I want to get back on the boat. Hunting season's coming around. A lot of projects and a lot of things going on, and some side jobs and things of that nature. So the answer to that is I shoot for once a week. It's gone way less. Sometimes it's gone more. I like to have a couple of episodes in reserve just to give me time to edit and work on things. So one of the reasons I don't want a huge channel and I'm keeping things the way they are is I don't want it to become a second job. Tim Kreitz Adventures is a big channel, over 10,000 subscribers. I forgot the number. I hang out with Tim a lot, and he works a lot on that. He's very good at it. I am an above average user of computers, so and editing and all is still a nightmare, and I still screw it up. So keep it fun. Don't want to get involved. I've had a lot about the whole cancer angle. Thank you so much for your words, your kind thoughts, and your prayers, and the many compliments people have paid about my attitude about the disease and all that, which I've emulated the people who I've known in real life and people I've met through cancer patient forums who talk about how they view it, and it's sort of my attitude is sort of, well, what are you going to do? And it is a huge part of my life, and I'll maybe do an episode if the topic comes up right. But I talk about it because it's a part of my life, but then again, I'm just sort of tired of doing it. So it's kind of like when you come home from work, you want to talk about something else. A buddy of mine wound up at a bar in big city somewhere, and in the 90s, and he sat at the bar, was waiting for some friends, and someone asked him to move over one seat. An employee said, "Hey, could you move over one seat? We have somebody coming in, that's his favorite seat." And his first thought was, go piss up a rope. And then he thought, I kind of want to see who this is. So he moved, and in came Dennis Rodman, who sat down next to him. And he was alone, a little bit of conversation, and he told him, Dennis Rodman said, "Man, I'm here to unwind, and we can strike up a conversation, but please, let's talk about anything but basketball." So that's kind of how I am about that, but we'll get to it. It always does come up. All right, a lot of questions about our setup. Thank you for the compliments on the sound. Tim is a pro engineer, and I've worked with a number of other engineers, learned a lot of people. In no order, Ken Morgan has taught me a lot. Rick Morgan, no relation, fantastic local guitarist, really cool, creative guy. I learned a lot from him. He has one of the most tuned ears I've ever seen. Anthony Nieto of Mudrock Studios, fantastic guy. Corey Yeager helped me a lot. Specifically, and my biggest influence in helping all this is Tim Kreitz. Tim is fantastic at all angles, and he's helped me do this. So thank you for the compliments on it, and we're going to continue making it better. So I still, if there's a screw up, it's always my fault. So a lot of people ask what the setup is. People I don't even know, other podcasters, that says, hey, man, what do you use? Okay, so here it is. The entire project, the sound is mixed on a QSC TouchMix 8 mixer, which is a very modern wireless rig that we use for our band, the Tim Kreitz Band. And it does live, it does recording. It is a fantastic piece of gear. I can't say enough about it. And we can unplug it, move it into the recording studio, reload all the settings, and we're off to the races. We're recorded with a little bit of compression and a noise gate, which is why you hear that weird sound when somebody breathes in. Like that, it kind of cuts a little bit. That's just to kind of cut the noises you get at a house, which little things in the background, specifically air conditioning, it cuts out. The microphones are a hodgepodge of stuff that I've collected. Shure SM58, the standard of vocal mics in just about every genre of music. And I had one of those, and the other two are clones, and they do a pretty good job. And we put mic screens on them. The headphones are the I got to look at one here because I forgot. It's an Audio-Technica model. They are not the most expensive. ATH M20X, fantastic headset. When we all came in here, we were using the hodgepodge of things that piled up in my studio, and I was using my isolation cans. And it occurred to me I'd never worn those longer than about 3 minutes to record a track on a song, or 10, 15 minutes in rehearsal and take them off. And when I wore them for an hour the first time, they gave me a horrible headache. So great, affordable $75, $80 headset. Absolutely love it. The camera is the same camera. Sony, I can't say it, CX405, HDR CX405, I believe. 9.2 megapixel, does everything we need it to. Two of those on some little Sunpack 5858 DLX, little lightweight cheapo stands. They work great. We had some voltage problems. I live in an old neighborhood, and I think we get voltage drops, and the worst one I just found out is coming from my soon-to-be former air conditioner condenser motor, and it would actually drop and was cutting the mixer out, and we lost audio on a couple of videos. The ones where you can hear all the room noise and it's echoey, that's where that happened. We solved that by, we think solved it. I dug out an APC power conditioner that helps deal with that sort of thing. That was from the days when I hauled around a giant MPEG bass amplifier that was really finicky about voltages when you played in all kinds of questionable places that had weird wiring and different problems. So that's how we grind all that. The audio is processed in Cubase, and my interface is a Tascam, which we don't really use, but so I forget the name of it. Really nice Tascam. If anybody's looking for an interface and wants to know about it, hit me up. I'll tell you. Software, I use Affinity on still photographs, and I use Magix for MAJIX, I think, for video. Both of these are really nothing more than clones of the Adobe products that run on your computer. There's no subscription or anything else. Great pieces of gear, kind of tough to learn. I've had some issues doing it. And Mike Montalvo does a lot of video. He's fantastic with it, as does Tim. And they both hate what I use, but I found out we just, that's like I said about fencing coaches. One thing we can agree on is that everybody else is wrong. So there's that. But that's the technical side of it. Somebody asked, what are the little rubber pads under your microphones? Those are used for isolating the sounds of the table from the microphones, because I'm using a stand. I'm looking at going at booms. Haven't made a decision on that yet. Came up with some ideas, and we may upgrade booms and mics. Just sort of depends. But a guy asked me about that. They are actually pieces of athletic or sports room gym flooring. They look kind of like puzzle pieces. You buy them at Home Depot. That's what the observatory is floored in. They're about a half-inch or so thick chunk of a dense foam rubber. I forget which one it is. I got it for the observatory because you drop a lot of expensive stuff on the floor at night, and it's nice when it bounces. And then I found out it's pretty good for sound insulation. I use it for monitor pads and things of that nature. So cheap, and it works. And that's what we have for now. We 3 questions over the last 4 months, 3 or 4 months, about Burr Williams. And Burr Williams is very much a piece of and a keeper of Midland history and science. He's a fantastic guy. We're Facebook friends. We've communicated on other levels. I've ran into him a few times and doing some stuff at with the Nature Center and things of that nature. nature. And Burr is going to be in the next episode. That one is just about finished up and done, and I believe he's going to be a recurring feature. I hope he is. As is John Capadonna from the last episode. Fantastic guys that we want to bring in and out. We have a lot of other topics coming around. We are going to recur with some conspiracy theories. We're going to get into just different hobbies. We have some history. And every once in a while, we just kind of feel like yammering on, so we meet up in here and kind of enjoy ourselves. So that's it, folks. Again, thank you very, very much for being a part of this. You know how to get in touch with us. Read all the comments, and you can email my personal email or thevancave@gmail.com. And keep it coming. I'm flattered by it. Thank you for making me feel like a rock star. Oh, one more thing. Did have a question the other day. It says, hey, do you guys ever actually break out any of those instruments and play them? Yes, all the time. Record with them, and I'm not performing right now. The chemotherapy has a really tough effect on skin, and the calluses and roughness you build up on your fingers from playing a bass. I can't play for very long, so I'm doing kind of shorter projects. Plus, for the same reason I can't record a lot, I really have a hard time performing. So what we do, we've talked about it. I don't know, maybe we'll work out a jam session or something like that. The music in the little cheesy intro video I made, and Mike Montalvo's The Year Was, those were all done in a little recording studio here at my house. Mike's was done by the band, and then the intro was some stuff I had worked out. So that's all I got for now, and thanks for sticking, and let us know. Cheers, and, well, I don't have anybody. Here we go. Got a bottle and a glass. Cheers, and thank you. Not the same.